I was signed to Johnny B. Moses as publisher, which is, and I was signed to Don Carroll, who's the producer, who decides what you do. The publisher gets money from the writing. Okay. From what I understood, there was an agreement made initially between Johnny B. and Don that they would share writing and production equally between the two of them. They would not be separate. And then I also heard that at some point they fell out and decided not to do that. So the producer, in order to keep the publisher from making any money, of course would not let me write anything. He would just choose songs or friends or people, stuff he wrote. As a matter of fact, two of the songs on there he wrote. So that's what kind of killed my writing career.
So was Amen recorded in the same session as Coleman Father, same day? Or?
I don't remember, but it was the same. We did the 45 first, you know, so
Oh, okay.
it was the same recording session. It might not have been the same day.
Right.
Yeah.
Remember how many takes it took? Did you get first take?
I don't remember, but it wouldn't have been many because we played it all the time, and it's the band performing, so it wouldn't have been many takes. It was just a very simple song to play, you know, and there was nothing really added to it or taken away from it, so it wouldn't have been much.
Remember anything about the size of the room you recorded in?
Well, the favorite studio was very large. It was a big, they had a control booth up level, and we recorded down in it was a pretty large room, but you know, they would section it off with to contain it with mics and things. They were fairly professional, and they knew exactly what they were doing, but we were just kind of cording off, and that was about it. There was nothing that special about it.
Standard.
The standard. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember, and I know this might be abstract, but
No.
how many mics they used for the drum kit or anything?
Probably three. One on the bass, one up over the snare, and one over the cymbal. Probably three mics. I'm guessing now, but that would be what I would do. And I know they always use one down in front of the bass, muffled with something between there to keep it from just boom, boom, boom. And they always use one over the cymbals, and probably 3 or 4 mics. But that was fairly standard. You know, it probably was the same setup we used on the other songs that we did, Color and Power and that stuff.
So Greg set up those mics?
No, the engineer set them up.
And was Greg the one who tuned the kit? I mean, was it a standard kit?
Standard.
The one who played
Yeah.
No.
They were his drums. I mean, he took played his drums in the session. If I'm not mistaken, I think he did use his drums because he would have. But it was just standard.
You might have remembered the name of the drum kit.
I think he was playing Slingerlands. I'm pretty sure he was playing Slingerlands.
You said he his equipment pristine.
Yeah. Top notch.
Some people didn't.
Yeah. He had cases, and he kept it. He was one of the professional things about him. He kept his equipment in good shape. Some drummers and things, you know, they didn't, but he did. Some horn players, they lead a horn on the stage, you know. But he was a person who kept his drums clean. He had like a green pearl set, I think they were. I think they were green pearl. And I had G.C. Coleman written on the front of them, like most drummers do. But that was for the girls, you know, for the girls another name. But he always kept his. He never was like had pop snare drums and things, you know. He always had extra snares and stuff like that. So he was a consummate professional. As I say, he'd been out there on the road, Motown. You couldn't be out on the road Motown acts unless you were a professional. I think he'd played drums behind the Marvelettes. Plus, he had played with Otis. So he was a person. He was a working musician, and you had to keep your equipment in good shape.
There's a rumor going around that Gregory Coleman didn't actually play on Amen Brother.
Bullshit.
That it
You
was.
stop that right now. You gotta go no further.
Thank you.
Yeah, Greg Coleman played Amen Brother.
There's never any session drummers in any of that.
Hell no.
And next thing I know, we were being asked to come to Atlanta. It was around February of '69 to do the recording. We went and did it. Came back to work. We went down to Augusta, working on a place down there. Around May, we started hearing it on the radio. That was it. They just about forgotten about it. And someone said, "Hey man, I heard you once." So it's just, the rest is history. It came out at like number 98 with a bullet on it. That was a big joke. We go downtown every week and get a billboard in Augusta. Number 97 with a bullet. And we go, oh man, we were rolling. But that was it. That's basically how we got the deal. I understand that Metro Media only printed like 1,400 copies. We were recording with an entity who was not in the record business. You're too young to remember a TV show used to be called Julia. It was Diane Carroll and a little black boy named Mark Kopich. Mad Magazine did a great piece on it. They called it Julia. And they were just so articulate. You know, they were trying to up the black image and And, you know, they had them and they had another group that used to be on Dean Martin's show called the Gold Diggers. They were dancers. So they were trying to, and Bobby Sherman, Here Come the Bride. And they were trying to hire movie stars, TV stars, to be on their record label. And they recorded us. I understand, there was just not much promotion behind it. It's just, people liked it. Which said something about art that I forget, but I'll do that another time when I've reread that piece. But people liked it. And on the sheer luck or something, it became a big hit for us. By September that year, it had been officially declared a million seller. I had been nominated for the Grammy Award, and by November the group had broken up.
Just to add on to that question, was it at one point, what's the highest it got on the chart?
It went to number 4, I think, on what was called the Top 100 chart. Pop song. That would be like MTV today. It went to number 1, Rhythm and Blues. And lo and behold, in 1970, it went to like number 6, Country and Western. It was recorded by the first black female country and western singer, whose name is going to slip me. But she recorded it. And as a matter of fact, I've heard that she and Coleman Father have been inducted into the Grand Ole Opry Hall of Fame for being the first black female. So it was you could be traveling, we used to ride around in the car and travel. You could hear it everywhere in the country. You could be coming down to Wheeling, West Virginia late at night, you hear it. Everybody was playing it. So also I have an award that it was the most 17th played song over the radio over 10, 12, 15 years. It struck a chord, if you wish, with people for some reason. And it's just a story about a father who left his children, you know, made it up when he got killed in the war when my dad had deserted us in 1958. And so I wrote about it. That's who the letter was to, actually. Saying, well, you know, there's somebody going to come along and love Mom and us, and you're going to be sorry, because he wasn't going to be sorry. That's what it was. And we're going to color this man, Father, and you're going to be out. And so that's how they came about.
Yeah.
Well, that's telling them for that. I don't mean to.
Yeah, but yeah.
It's very sweet of them.
Yeah.
I guess that's a...
Dad's a little old for rock and roll. My son would have an absolute baby. Sometimes we be watching like public radio and UNC, and they have those little doo-wop shows. and he'll come downstairs and watch it, and he'll get nervous. Now, why are you watching that? You ain't thinking about it. I said, yeah, man, I just got a call. They want us. Please, there. Don't do that. He don't like me to say things like solid. That's old, stupid.
No, because I think people could employ some other musicians to replay that part of Amen Brother.
It's a simple song.
You know?
Yeah,
but it mean a lot more if the originator did it, you know?
Yeah.
Was Amen Brother an original song or a cover?
It was a cover, actually. And the way we did it, I mean, we recreated it, but it's from the black music, gospel music, and Amen. And Curtis Mayfield had done it on one of his albums as Amen. We arranged it in that instrumental form. So, what is an original?
You said it. Well, told me at one point. Is it called a chaser?
It's a chaser, yeah.
Explain that.
In the music business, and talk shows, whatever, when you introduce a person that came on, the band will play some music to bring them on. Or when they leave, all right, let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen, the band be playing. That's called a chaser. It chases you on stage. So Amen Brother was a chaser for the backup band for the Impressions for about a year. And we used to use that.
So it was you said gospel standard?
Yeah, it's actually a gospel song, Amen.
I'm gonna sing that.
Yeah. That's about it. I mean, I sang it at Civil Rights rallies and stuff like that.
So y'all did an instrumental version of that?
Yeah, and we did it, jazzed it up. I mean, sped it up.
Someone before you had a hit with that?
The Curtis, well, not that version, but Curtis Mayfield and those did it, and the Impressions did it on an album. That was a big song for them during the time he was writing all the protest music, and We a Winner, and some of the stuff.
Yeah, I've read somewhere that We're a Winner is Amen. No.
Now it came from the same guy.
Right.
Go on and pull up Curtis Mayfield and his discography, and you'll see.
Yeah, somebody was saying that. Yeah, somebody was saying that your song was a cover of We're a Winner. So that's not true. Okay.
No, it's not.
Okay.
When you hear We're a Winner, you'll understand.
Okay. But he. I'll just keep going.
Well, because it's not getting his mic.
Oh, sure.
You know, come to think of it, I think you're right. I think there is some Will in there. Yeah, I think so. Then we turn it down. So it was two songs.
Hold on, you gotta see that again.
Alright.
So, We're a Winner, and then,
Amen. Come think of, yeah.
and Curtis at one point did a song.
We're a Winner, yeah.
And he did a song called Amen.
Amen, yeah. So actually, it would have been two songs because it was their show, so yeah, that makes sense.
So you kind of, your Amen Brother was kind of
A combination of the two.
combination of the two, because it actually had parts of the We're a Winner sound to it.
Exactly.
So then he just came to that conclusion when the camera was off there that it's
Yeah,
actually.
I just hadn't thought about it, but you're absolutely right.
So which part you saying is We're a Winner? The
It's let's see. that part.